So, good morning. Happy New Year, everybody. And I had a nice, quiet, we played a little bit of 10-cent poker, and it was pretty fun on New Year's Eve. And this is the first time in a decade I saw midnight in our time zone. So, and I'm still feeling it, I think. So, we're going to go over some of the, really, this is Mac Essentials. It's Mac and iOS Essentials. It's going to be mail, it's going to be contacts, calendar, and making sure things will sync. And, that's going to be a good way to start off the new year. I'm not going to show you how to use Quicken so you can get all of that stuff in order or anything else, but I think it's important to make sure that our contacts, our calendars, and all that are ready to go, especially because we have so many devices. And the biggest thing is to make sure our devices all sync with one another. And that and passwords are probably two of the most critical and most often calls for support that I get, and I think that they get pretty much anywhere. So as I go through it, we're going to go through some setups in Mail. I have a brand new MacBook. This is the neat little 12-inch MacBook. It's super light. It's the weight of the original iPad and the thickness of the original iPad, and it's pretty incredible. Best Buy had, so this is, we're going to be pimping Best Buy a little bit here because they're doing a great job for us at MacNexus. Mario over there, I worked for months with him. He worked with his manager, and we get you guys some incredible discounts. This one was already $300 off, so it was normally $12.99. It was on sale for $8.99, and with MacNexus, it was on sale for $9.99. It was $300 off, and with my MacNexus card, it got it down to $8.99. So the way that works is if it's on sale, like after this class today, I'm gonna go over. They have a lot of their iPads on sale for $100 off right now. So you'll get an additional $50 off with your MacNexus card. You have to have your MacNexus card, and that's only at the Arden Fair Best Buy. The manager knows about it, but Mario, who is an Apple employee, he's come and talked to us at MacNexus. He's the one that you need to see, but they all know about it. But if you have your card, you should be able to get $50 off on iPads and $100 off on Macs. And then don't be afraid to ask about the accessories because sometimes there's even better margins in there on those. It does include sale prices. So again, I essentially got $400 off on this. So they were practically begging me to take it. So I said, okay. And it doesn't apply if they're going to price match. Like let's say, because Best Buy price matches all the internet places and stuff. So your MacNexus discount would not apply on top of a price match. But it'd be if they have it on sale. I looked around. I'm going to go pick up a new iPad mini because I love my iPad mini today after class, and they're $100 off, and nobody is even close. All the ones online and everything are about $50 or $60 off. So I'll get the $100 and then the additional $50. So any questions on that program or plan? Go ahead.
The phone? The iPhone?
I'm not sure about that because those are tied. I'm sorry? Doesn't apply to the phones because you're pretty much buying those phones from the carriers when you do it. Who here is looking at changing carriers or getting new phones? Okay. Maybe I'll go into that just a little bit too. Well, let's first off, who here doesn't have an iPhone and wants to admit it in front of this large crowd of people that have an iPhone? So we have two. Okay, well, you'll have to stay after class. But you have an iPad, and I think you have an iPad? So you're okay. You probably have your other phone that works when you need to make phone calls, but everything else in your iPad works. So we're going to be talking about who here doesn't have a Mac? Okay, so you're just iPads and everything there. So a few of the things I'm going to do on Mail won't apply to what you have there, but in fact, the rest of the stuff will, and it's pretty close. When I get into contacts, you can't do groups is about the only thing. Go ahead.
Just wondered why you would need a new iPad with that. With the new computer.
Because I have to have the new thing so I can show you guys. Well, no, it's my iPad mini. I have the iPad mini too. And even though I have an iPhone 6S Plus that I keep with me all the time, this is my go-to because this is everywhere with me. I have an iPad Pro, which I can show you guys later too. But you know what? This really doesn't fit in too many of my pockets. And I'm a little adverse about carrying a purse, so a man purse. But the mini for me is just the perfect size because it's very, very portable. Those of you that have a full-size iPad, it may work, and especially women, because you find a purse that they fit in, then you've got it with you all the time. It's a little more difficult for a guy, but for me, I have a cellular connection on this, and we have some chairs over here if you want to. There are some chairs in the back if you guys want to sit together. You can pull those off the rack too. But this is just something that just goes with me all the time, and I pretty much have abused this thing, and it's getting a little bit slow. So, and actually, the price I'm going to pay for my iPad Mini 4, my previous iPhone 6, I'll be able to get a price for it that'll pay for my new Mini.
So you're going to sell your phone?
Yeah, I have an iPhone 6 Plus, 128 gig in black, space gray, available, unlocked, but it's probably worth about $500, and it does have Apple Care till October. So if anybody's interested, the line will form here at the break. So.
If you get it at Best Buy, do you still get the same services that Apple Store?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. So her question is if you get it at Best Buy, do you get the same services you do like with the Apple Store? And you know, I forget to mention that all the time, and I try to talk about that in the newsletter a little bit in my little president's message. You buy an Apple product no matter who you buy it from, even if you buy it used from someone, as long as it's not got water damage or something, you can make an appointment over at the Apple Store at the Genius Bar, and they will help you. Even when your stuff's out of warranty, they'll help you as much as they can. You've bought an Apple product, so Apple will stand behind it. And it doesn't matter whether you buy it at Best Buy. It used to be that at Best Buy you couldn't buy Apple Care because they wanted you to buy the Geek Squad insurance, which they still offer, but in fact they offer Apple Care now. And Mario's pretty good. They have some latitude on Apple Care pricing too. Sometimes they can give you educational pricing and stuff like that on the Apple Care. Because them as a retailer, those deals they're doing for us on those Macs and on those iPads, they're not making any money on those. They're making money if you buy the case from them or the really expensive USB cable or things like that. But you know, it gets people in the door. When they sell it at regular price, they make maybe 7% on the whole deal.
What about the one-to-one?
I'll talk about that in a sec. So anyway, they offer Apple Care over there now, and Apple Care is the same. There are aftermarket places where you can buy. One of my favorite for insurance is called Square Trade. On your iPhones or any phone, if you have a Wells Fargo credit card, a real Wells Fargo card, you're covered for up to $600 of theft or damage, not lost, has to be stolen, police report, or damage. Up to $600, $25 deductible, up to twice a year. So if you have not a debit card, it has to be a real Wells Fargo card. You pay your cell phone monthly cell phone bill. It doesn't have to be auto pay. You just simply pay your cell phone bill with that, and they will extend that coverage to you. It's the only one I know of that's like that. Other cards, of course, give you purchase protection when you buy it. That's all up to your card carrier. So no matter where you buy it, even if you buy it from B&H Photo in New York and they send it to you, or PowerMax in Oregon where you don't have to pay tax up front, you're responsible for the sales tax, then it's still covered by Apple, and they'll take care of it for you if you want. One thing Best Buy tries to do is they try to bundle in on their Macs and stuff, virus protection and things like that. And the reason they do that on there, they don't really charge you for it, or they'll charge you a setup fee. But what happens is, if the virus protection software gets installed and you go to renew it, Best Buy gets a little kick for that, or that's kind of why that's on there. But you don't need that stuff, and they're getting better about that, not installing that. But you know, it's just part of the way their business model is, because their business model is based more on the PC realm. One-to-one from Apple. How many participated in one-to-one? Okay. I won't go into detail because it's no longer available. It was a huge resource drain for Apple. It was very good, where you could go in up to an hour for once a week and work with a genius on a special project or do things like that. It's no longer available. If you have it, and it'll last till yours expires. It was only available if you bought it in the Apple Store, and it was $99 a year. But what they're doing is they felt that their resources, they have all the money in the world. They're not trying to get more money out of you, but their problem is having enough people in the stores and having room in the stores. So what they've done is they've taken that one-to-one focus and gone over and said, let's do group classes or group things with that, which realistically, I mean, it's weird because with one-to-one, you're kind of like, well, okay, how does this work for them financially? And it wasn't that it didn't work for them financially. It didn't, but that's okay. It was great support. But the problem is it just doesn't work for them from a resource standpoint, because we all know how busy the Apple stores are. They're a victim of their own success. So one-to-one is gone. You can't get it anymore. So good questions on both of those. Apple Care, it's available. Different devices have different prices. Generally speaking, if you buy the lowest price iMac, it's like $169. So make that call, because if you're buying an $1,100, $1,200 iMac, it may not be that cost effective. But if you buy the same 27-inch iMac that's fully decked out, that's nearly $4,000, then that $169 might make a little more sense, because you've got a Retina display and you've got a lot of parts and pieces that that are much more expensive if they fail. You've invested more in that product. So I'm not a huge fan of extended warranties. Usually on portable devices, on laptops, they're pretty expensive to repair, so it's not a bad thing to do. But you want to look at it, because different ones. The MacBook is a different price than the Air, which is a different price than the MacBook Pro. Go ahead.
You said the one-on-one is no longer available, and there was a price for that, or cost for that. Now, the little groups you're talking about.
They're free.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. So the group, and you can sign up for those online. You go to either the Arden Fair or the Galleria Apple Store, and you can sign up for these workshops, and it'll say if they have spots available or stuff. And that's a great thing to supplement what we do here. And it's they're very, very good. But remember, those darn stores are busy and loud. So you have to be ready to put up with that. And, as a stockholder, it's a good thing. But as somebody that's trying to go in and really get the attention in there, it's a little bit difficult. But, when we take the Apple service so for granted, go buy an Android or go buy a Windows machine and then see if you have any of these resources. And it really kind of hits you. And then if you have to call Apple support, like recently I've had to call a couple times to Apple support for clients where they've had problems with their Apple IDs and things like that. And you get a very well-spoken person that's either from the US or Canada, and they spend some time with you. And really, that's the kind of thing, great product that you're getting from Apple, but secondly, that kind of level of support. It really, you pay a little bit more for it, but it comes back in spades. And if you don't use it, well, it's okay. But, any other questions on kind of the whole app? And actually, part of this tech support infrastructure too, not this coming meeting. This coming meeting, we're going to have a guy from ProSoft Engineering, which they talk about hard drive data recovery and things like that. But the meeting after that, past President Gordon Brock will be coming, and he is with Apple Care, been for ages, and he's going to share some stories with us, some Apple Care stories and different things like that. I think it'll be pretty neat. So that'll be in 2 meetings. So go ahead.
I just wanted to comment. Yeah, the afternoon classes are just horrible because of the noise, but they have classes in the morning, and I try to get those.
Yeah, in the morning, or sometimes they may have them. They used to be able to get in an hour before the mall opened, and you go in through a special top secret entrance. So the secret way to get into Arden Fair, probably not after hours, but if between Nordstrom and the other parking lot, there's a little turnaround place where the truck loading dock there. There's usually some parking spots you can find in there, and you walk in through the back way where the the dumpster is and everything, and you get right to the Apple Store. It's pretty easy. So Galleria doesn't have anything like that. Go ahead.
Sometimes when you see iPads advertised, I can't tell if it's the latest version or not. Is there a way that you
Yeah, if they're advertising it and it's not on clearance, it's the most recent. So, they've, like, I have the iPad 2 and they still sell the iPad 2. So, like with anything with Apple, the iPhone 6S is the most current, the 6S Plus and the 6S. They still sell the 6, and then they also still sell the 5S. And there is rumors that in the spring we may get a replacement to the 5 coming out that would be something, 5C, 6C, something like that. But you never know. So go ahead.
If the project is refurbished, they have to tell you the ads.
Well, never buy a refurbished product unless it's from Apple. And I don't, unless it's a huge discount. But who here has bought refurbished from Apple? And can you tell me if you've had any trouble with them at all? And when you get them, yeah, big zero trouble. They got the same warranty. They don't come in a real pretty box. They kind of come in a generic box. But all the plastic is on them. You can't tell they're not new. And the majority of the time, they are actually new. Because what happens is, the Apple Store, they used to have a little clearance area in there when the Arden Fair Store first started. But now what happens is when Apple comes out with a brand new product, the Apple Store ships everything back, actually, I think, to Elk Grove or to Austin, and they put them there. That's brand new product from store stock. They never carry, I don't want to say outdated, they never carry previous models, products in the Apple Store, so they send them back, and in short time, they'll be in the Apple Refurb Store. And the Apple Refurb Store is a way to save 15, 25%, different things. And they'll tell you, you talk about which models are current, they'll actually put the date that it was issued. Apple kind of does things, they do mid, early, or late, and then the year. And it depends on when it was introduced because most products are about on an 18-month kind of cycle. So go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I bought all of my Apple products at Best Buy.
Uh-huh.
And when Steve Salas was still
Uh-huh.
there, I mean, I have gotten help every time I went there. They're so nice.
And they're great. And Mario has replaced Steve. Steve
Yeah.
Salas, who used to be there, great guy. He actually works. He's worked his way up the ladder in Apple. He's working.
Really?
Oh, he works for Apple now. He started out working under Gordon Brock down at in Elk Grove, and he's kind of doing some other. I think he's some special product stuff.
Wow. Okay.
And Steve's
Good
done
to know.
a really good job and great guy.
Yes, he
And
is.
he's Apple born and bred and inside and out, and he's done well. That was pretty much while he was going to college and everything else doing that. So actually, if anyone is over at Best Buy during the Christmas holiday, there was another lady there, Tanika or something, and she was helping Mario, and she's from Apple because Mario's an Apple employee inside the Best Buy. And the only other one in the area, except for South Sac, the only other one is Bob Bowman up in Roseville, is an Apple employee. But they trained the other staff in there. And again, when that first started, well, Pete Losey, we all know and love Pete Losey, he did that years ago at the CompUSA over here. And it was like pulling teeth for him to get all these other employees to try sell Apple products instead of PCs. And he just kept going with them and embracing them. And then well, the Best Buy has taken, those guys are pretty pro Apple for the most part now. They don't have that tunnel vision view of the world anymore. And that's a credit to those are called ASCs, the Apple ASCs inside the store. But it's a great program, and they're expanding that program. So, all right. So logistics-wise, I think that's pretty much it. Apple stock, of course, got beat up a little bit, but it's still a good long-term thing. If Apple doesn't produce something that's world revolutionary every 2 months, I guess they think that Apple is going to go away. Well, they kind of have a lot of money, so I think they're pretty safe for a while. All right, so we're going to cover everything we're going to talk about today has to do with iCloud syncing, and we're going to talk about some of that. We're going to talk about mail and some of the little things we can do in mail. everything I do today will be recorded, and then also there's going to be some resource links that I'm going to provide with you guys that you can go out and find some of this on your own too. And for the most part, Google is your best resource. If you want to say, how do I say, okay, I want to put a signature in my mail. So you just Google Mac mail signature. Put Mac in it, put mail because that's the program, M-A-I-L, and signature, and it'll come up with all kinds of ways to do it. But what I add to that search now is iMore, because imore.com, we've had Renee Ritchie and Serenity Caldwell speak to us by Skype at the general meetings. They are doing a great job of how-to guides on everything that Apple makes. They have a whole guide to El Capitan. Then they break it down into mail. They have a whole guide on iOS 9. They have a whole guide on Apple TV. They have a whole guide on the Apple Watch. So imore.com, imore.com should be your go-to place. When I'm putting together classes and things like that, I'll go look in there for their best tips and their top ones. So they're very, very good. But if I want to Google specifically for them, I'll put iMore, mail, signature, and it'll come up with stuff. So you can define in Google what you want. All right, so first we're going to start with Apple Mail, Mac Mail, and some of the tricks because, well, first of all, Apple Mail, whether it be on the iOS device, which is iPad and iPhone, or on the Mac, is what's called a mail client, M-A-I-L client, not Ashley Madison client, okay, a mail client, M-A-I-L. And what it is it means it goes out and checks the mail that you have. But this brings up something I want to go over, and I have a bit of a rant on this. Sorry, I've had rants today. Who here is still using the email that their internet service provider provides to them? And what I mean by that is your email end in Comcast, SureWest, MyCCI, AT&T, SBC Global, PacBell, Net, or 18 other variations of it, or any of the others. Who is still using that as their primary email? Okay? So when I point you out, just tell me the end of your email, if it's Comcast or SBC. So let's start over here. Raise your hands. We're going to go one at a time on these. I just want to know.
SBC, but I also have Gmail.
Okay.
Comcast.
Okay. Okay. Right there. Comcast. Okay. Okay. Anybody else afraid to admit to it? Okay. So internet service providers used to include in their pitch to you, you can get 7 email addresses and all this. And this was back in the dark ages when there was the only free email service out at the time was Hotmail, and nobody wanted that because it was an abomination from Microsoft, but it was the only free one that was out there. And then, of course, it became MSN, then it became Outlook, and it's gone through 7 different variations. But I have to tell you a little story about Comcast. Years ago, when I used to live by Chevy's on the river at Swallow's Nest, the only thing I could get was dial-up internet. And we had really old phone lines, and we're down by the river, and it's underground. I mean, the quickest speed I could get was 26 point something. And it was painful. So Comcast came along, and it was like, oh, the skies have opened up, and now I can get internet speeds. So luckily, at the time, this was prior to Gmail, but luckily I registered a domain name kenspencer.com. I wanted, not for vanity, but more than anything, I wanted to get it before someone else did. So I registered kenspencer.com and started using ken at kenspencer.com for my email, and I would have it forwarded somewhere. So I was lucky because I'm a free agent at that time. But when Comcast first came, they were having somebody like SBC, AT&T uses Yahoo, or they're getting away from Yahoo now, but they were using Yahoo to handle their mail because ISPs, internet service providers, do not like to do email because that's all the tech support calls. And so it really, it's a money losing proposition for them, but they try to offer it. So back in the day, it was Comcast came and they said, well, there was no such thing as Comcast.net for an email. You would use at home is what it was. So I could have gotten Ken Spencer at home.com. Well, I had it, but I didn't use it. And then at home morphed to become Excite. So anybody who signed up with Comcast and got their free email that was at home, when they changed to Excite, they made them change their email address. At home stopped to exist. No, there's no technical reason where they had to do that, but they said, no, it's going to be Excite. And then for a short time, Excite went away, and Comcast says, well, now you can use Comcast. But you had to stop using Excite. So in this span so far, you would have had to change your email address 3 times. Then, this was before AT&T got big with their broadband. They had a service called ATTBI, AT&T Broadband Internet. Well, ATTBI says, you know, Comcast will handle that email for you. And the reason these people want to handle the email is what happens is when you log on to their website, not using a mail client, but when you log onto the website, you get all these ads on there. Just like a Google search, you get all the ads, a Yahoo search, etc. Those eyeballs are valuable to those people. So they're going to carry the email. So now people went from Comcast to ATTBI. 4 changes. Then finally Comcast says, okay, we'll handle it ourselves. So 5 changes in less than 5 years. And thank God I had my own email address, and all I had to do was keep fixing the forwarding. Well, by this time, Yahoo was offering email, and Gmail came out. I got on the early betas that you had to get an invite in the early days of Gmail. You had to find somebody that had Gmail, an invite, and they could invite 5 people more. And the reason they did that is they wanted to roll it out slowly, because otherwise the servers would have been overwhelmed, and therefore it would have been a very bad experience and people would have left it. So I did a deal. There were people selling invites on eBay, which was not the right way to do it. So I went onto a board and I looked and I says, look, I think it was either 3 or 5 invites. I can't remember what it was you would get. I said, look, if you give me an invite, I'll give you 2 back. And so it was kind of a way of sharing back. And as soon as I got my invite, I give it to them, and then I could share it with other people and stuff. And now Gmail grew to what it is. Apple offers free iCloud. I mean, long ago they offered Mac.com, then it changed to Me.com. But to Apple's credit, my Mac.com still works. You can address it to Ken Spencer at Mac.com, Me.com, or iCloud.com, and it still comes to me. So, was it this? What did I say? Anyway, so those of you on the internet service provider ones, you want to become a free agent. And I recommend going to Gmail or Apple's iCloud.com. And the reason, there's a lot of reasons, but the first main reason is if somebody comes along with Bob and Joe's Internet, or back in the old day, MacNexus used to be an internet service provider. Let's say MacNexus got back into the business. Don't worry, it's not going to happen. But let's say they could offer you 3 times the speed for 1/5 of the cost of what you're currently paying. Wow, that sounds great, Ken. But you know, I've had this email forever. That was AOL's thing. That's why they kept people for a long time. So as soon as you can, you want to get a secondary email. You have a Gmail, and you said that's good. But start using a secondary email. You don't have to get rid of your old one. But for instance, me, I lived in Rancho Cordova, and when I moved to Sun City, Lincoln Hills, I was on Comcast as my internet provider. Luckily, I didn't use their email, but Comcast isn't available up there. Those of you on AT&T, if you move to Roseville area and you don't have AT&T available, you have to go to Sure West. You know, so become a free agent. Completely rid yourself of the ISP email. You can phase it out. I have 2 clients just recently that switched from AT&T to Comcast. One lady, she didn't call me until after it was 2 months that she's made that switch, so she's without email for that long time because she quit her AT&T. And I signed her up with Gmail. Everything's going great. Because remember, your email address is at your bank, at your credit card sites, at all your health services sites. Your Apple ID probably has it and things like that. So while you're not in a rush, start using either Apple's Mail or Gmail and stop using the other one, and then update all those sites along the way, okay? Go ahead.
Is there an expeditious way to notify all the people?
Yeah, you can notify them all they want, whether they'll do it or not. That's the whole thing. So what I recommend is if you are going to start using an alternate email, I'm going to show you in mail settings and remind me when I go in here that I'll do that. But you could put a signature in your email. So first of all, this is actually a good way to purge yourself of all that spam you get. Because if you're getting a lot of spam to your SureWest or your AT&T or your Comcast, you're going to tell people about your new email address, but you're only going to tell the people that don't send you spam. So therefore, that old account will just sit there and it'll just be a spam honeypot, and you don't care what happens to it. So you're not going to tell everybody. You're just going to tell the spam people, or not tell the spam people, but inform them. You can put a signature in your email, and remind me when I go into it. I'll show you how to reply from a different email address. So go ahead, Doug.
I did that recently, and it turned out to be a good time to change passwords too.
Yeah, great point. Good time to change passwords. And, I'll do my quick little password run-up on this. Email is the keys to your kingdom. Because if I go to the bank website and I've forgotten my password to the bank, I have to have an email that's working because they're going to send me a reset so I can reset my password via email. So your email, it's very critical that you have a good, secure password. I'll probably do this with TextEdit. It's a little easier to show than put it on the board. So I do, the way I'm going to tell you is not the most secure way to do passwords, but I would be willing to bet it's more secure than most of the way you guys are doing passwords now. And it's a great point because email is the most important one to have good passwords. So we're going to go here, make this big. So I'm going to pretend that I have a cat named, well, actually, let's do this. We're going to make up we're going to use a password for our email, and it's going to be MacNexus 1. Now, MacNexus 1 is pretty good because MacNexus is not in any dictionary. So you don't want a word that's in a dictionary, and we end it with a 1. So does anybody here use the same password everywhere? It's okay. I'm like a priest and a doctor. You can tell me.
I have some variations.
Okay, we're going to go into that. So it's a bad idea to use the same password everywhere, and let me tell you why. When you go to Pizza Hut to order online delivery, they're going to ask you to put in your email address, which will be your username. And let's say MacNexus 1 is your email password, but you put in at Pizza Hut, you don't know what the heck you're doing, so you put in, here's my Gmail address that I've just created, and here is MacNexus 1. So, not that this will happen, but this is a bit of an alliteration to point this out. So the guy that drives for Pizza Hut knows he's about to get fired, and it's late night, and he goes in and starts going through the database. And he says, oh, Bob Jones here. It's bobjones@gmail.com is his Pizza Hut username, and he used MacNexus 1. Let's go to gmail.com and see if bobjones@gmail.com's email password is MacNexus 1. And it is if you're using the same password everywhere. So now the Pizza Hut delivery driver can get into your email. Not only can he read your email, that's the least of your problems. He can get in and change your email password. That's not good. Because if your email password gets changed, you're pretty much up the creek. This is why when you're encouraged and you sign up for Gmail, they ask you for your text, your mobile phone number, so they can alert you if a change has been made. They also ask you for an alternate email that they can alert if it hasn't. My good friend, they travel a lot, and I'm his secondary email address, so I get alerted if it turns out that somebody's tried to sign in for him. So, because he doesn't have a second email address, so it works out real well. But that's the problem with using the same password everywhere. But I'm going to encourage you, I'm going to say, let's use the same password everywhere. But here's the exception. If I'm going to sign up at Pizza Hut, how about if I put PI, because I'm at Pizza Hut, right? MacNexus 1. If I'm going to Wells Fargo, WE, MacNexus 1. So if my passphrase is MacNexus 1, I don't have to write that down anywhere, because that's the other thing. You got all these passwords. I mean, it's crazy. Those that used to work in business, they'd come in and every 30 days or 90 days, they'd make you change your password on your computer. Well, what that forces you to do is write it down. So when you're on vacation, they know that if they go into your desk and they go and pull this out, they can get into your computer if they have to. So that's a flaw. That's the IT guys really not doing that right, because 30 and 90 days, what they're worried about is employees that actually get moved away or your password gets up. It's a stupid way to do it. If you're in a situation where you have to change your password all the time, just change the number at the end if you can get away with that. So if I'm going to Bank of America, what would I do? Capital B, lowercase a, MacNexus 1. And for my Apple ID, capital A, lowercase p, MacNexus 1. And for my Gmail, capital G, lowercase m. I'm always using, because I always know where I'm visiting. If I'm at Pizza Hut, I know it's PI, the first two letters. If I'm at Wells Fargo, I know it's WE. And then I use MacNexus 1. Now, this is not the most secure way to go, but I guarantee you it's a lot more secure than what you have, and you never have to write it down, and you can remember it. Apple has a way where they, first of all, remember your password for you, so that's great, but they'll suggest a password. The problem with the password they suggest, it's virtually uncrackable, but good luck if you ever have to get into a site because you forget what your password is, and it's really difficult. We do now with iCloud, my passwords can sync amongst all my devices. So I'm not saying this is the most secure. I'd be willing to bet it's more secure than 95% of you have out there, and it's a way to manage your password. Don't go change all your passwords. As Doug said, it was a great time for him to do a new password. As you create new passwords, this might be a protocol you might like, okay? I came up with this. I haven't published it anywhere because I don't want the guy at Pizza Hut to know that the PI, MacNexus 1, means he goes there. And let's talk about how this works a little bit. I formulated this because we have iOS devices now too, and the flipping of the keyboards back and forth. So I use Apple's criteria. Apple's criteria for password is this: one capital letter, at least one capital letter, at least one number, at least 8 characters total, and no character can repeat more than twice in succession. So if on our iOS device, we start with a capital letter, then the keyboard flips to lowercase, and then we have to flip the keyboard to go to a number. So your ease of entry on an iOS device is great because you're not flipping back and forth. People that scatter numbers in here, yeah, it's more secure, but it's hell to try to put it in, flipping back and forth. So capital letter, and then it reverts to lowercase, go like that. Use it if you want. To me, it's a great way to do it. And if you want to get a little more secure, you could add a special character at the end, an exclamation mark, a question mark, something like that. Okay? That usually satisfies most places. And it doesn't have to be as long as MacNexus. You need to have 8 characters total. So I just use MacNexus. In a lot of my demonstrations, I say Fluffy1. The problem with Fluffy is it's a name that's in the dictionary. So you could use a street name, you could use something else, but try not to make the main root of it be a word that's in the dictionary. Any questions on that? Okay. And the most common password is 12345. So don't use that. All right. So in Apple Mail, I'm going to set up a new account in Apple Mail. Oh, so going back to this, who here does not use Apple Mail on their iPad, iPhone, or on their Mac? They actually go to the browser, the website of where their email is, whether it's SBC or Gmail. Is there anybody doing that? You're doing that, Curtis? Okay. Is there a particular reason, or you just haven't set it up in Mail yet? Okay. Just the path of least resistance?
I use Gmail because it sorts, the mail into groups, promotions, social, primary.
Okay, good point.
I have two accounts. One is the mail, with read.com, but I also have a Yahoo. But there's so much junk on it, I don't want it on my portable device. So,
There's so much junk in your email.
yeah.
Well, but the problem is,
So
if you go to yahoo.com, their page is so full of junk, it can render your computer useless.
So that's why I don't have that synced with mail.
And if you're using Yahoo or SBC Global or AT&T Yahoo, please do yourself a favor. The sooner you stop using them, the better. They are hands down by far the worst email provider. Okay. But the other thing that comes to play in here is, with Gmail, which has the best spam filter in the world because they're the largest provider of mail, they can see, oh, if 30,000 emails just came in about a blue pill, that must be spam. So they know it's spam and they mark it to spam for everybody. But the thing is now, who here does not have multiple Apple devices? Anybody not have multiple Apple devices, like an iPhone, an iPad, a Mac? Well, you've got... Oh, yeah, okay, but yeah, you've got two Macs in the house, but one is yours and one's your wife's, so that doesn't work. Okay. Oh, that's right, yeah. So that's the only case where this makes a big difference, but with Gmail and with Apple Mail, it uses what's called IMAP. So if I check my mail on my iPhone and I reply or forward, that gets mirrored over onto my Mac and everything else. And that's for most people a reason to leave Comcast, to leave SureWest, and to leave the... Yahoo's doing it, but they don't implement it real well. So that's a reason to get rid of that, because the people that just want to make sure they keep their box as clean as possible, it's a great way to do it. So I'm going to go here and show you, I'm going to set up one of my Gmail accounts and show you in Mail how to do it. So Mail on the Mac is the postage stamp. And I'm... Oh, the dock isn't there.
Just move the projector.
It's just on the wall.
How's that, better?
There you go.
Yeah, I'm so wide I'm off the screen too. But all right, so I'm going to go into Mail preference. The first time you fire up Mail, those of you that haven't set it up yet, you're going to be faced with the same screen we have. Those of you that already have Mail set up, and we're going to try to do it on the iPad too, you're going to... Well, my clock's not up there anymore. At 10:10 a.m., remind me to break class. At 10:10 a.m., remind me to break class.
Okay.
Okay. So if you already have an account set up, or if you don't have any set, first time you set up Mail, you'll get this. But anyway, we hit Preferences, and you go to Accounts, the second tab, and we hit the plus sign. And Apple makes it pretty easy. If you're going to do Gmail, Exchange Server, well, first of all, iCloud, that's Apple iCloud. You probably have an iCloud account. Now, you may have an iCloud account that doesn't end in Me, Mac, or iCloud. It may end in your email address. You don't have a full email iCloud account. You can set one up for free. We won't go into that today. Exchange Server is a lot of work-related things. It's very good if you have it, but it's Microsoft Exchange. You have Yahoo, Google, AOL. Believe it or not, AOL has pretty good mail. That's about the only thing. Is there anyone still paying for AOL? No one? Good, because you can get their mail for free. That was that was a crazy business decision they made years ago, saying, well, yeah, we have all these people just hanging on to AOL to keep their email address, and now we'll make it free. Anyway, so I'm going to set up a Google account, which is Gmail. And I'm going to go here. And their screen is a little different than some of these either mail. I'm going to go back here and show you what some of these others look like. If I go to Yahoo, this screen makes you look more like the Yahoo screen, etc. So I'm going to go to Google, and I'm going to set up one of my accounts, not my one that'll bring a bunch of mail in. I have multiple Gmail accounts. I have one main one that my kenspencer.com gets forwarded to, but I have one I call klinks.com that I set up years ago, and it's more of a reference. I never give it out, but let's say I read an article that I want to save, or let's say when I do my taxes, I go ahead and I send a PDF of my taxes up to this email account, so it's stored there. It's essentially a links or reference repository for me. If I have an Excel spreadsheet I need to do, if I have advanced directives or things like that, I will send it to this account as storage. So then it's going to ask me for my password. So now I'm faced with this screen here. This is saying, okay, we're going to set mail up for you, but if you have contacts stored at Google, I can do that. But if you have an iCloud account, you want that to be your main spot where your contacts, your calendars, your messages, and your notes. That should be in your iCloud account. If your current iCloud account doesn't have notes, you want to click Notes here because we're going to talk about notes a little today. So now I hit Done. That's how difficult it is to set up a Gmail account on your Mac. Okay, we'll do the same thing on an iPad and iPhone in a second here. I won't go all the way through because they're already set up, actually. So it's kind of whizzing time. Our internet isn't real fast right now. Come on. So while we're doing that, we'll look over here and you'll see I have some brown stuff in my mail. This was a Jackie Lawson e-card from Gail McGovern. And I'm going to say, no, it's not junk. And I had Google just sent me an email to my recovery email address, kenspencer.com, that says, hey, somebody just logged in. They signed in from a new Mac. Is this okay? And yes, it's okay. But I'm going to say that's not junk also. We're going to talk about junk filter in a second. So that's the brown stuff is junk. Let's go see if we got signed in. It's still working away, chugging away. Our internet is pretty bad right now. So let's talk about junk and the junk filter in Apple Mail. And then, actually, I should go over. Let's do let's go do it on an iPad. So I'm going to go to my iPad, and the envelope, rather than the postage stamp, is the actual mail application. But what I want to do is I want to go in and set up a new account. So I go to Settings, the gray gear, and then I come down to Mail, Contacts, and Calendars. And I can set up a brand new account. I say Add Account. We have a familiar looking screen again. So if I say Google, it's the same screen. Don't look. That was quick enough. You shouldn't be able to get it. So this one says calendars. I'm going to turn calendars off. And I'm going to say save. Now you'll get It'll verify, and now I have different emails. I have my iCloud, I have a couple different Gmails. But while we're in this mail, contacts, and calendar screen, I want to show you if we go down here to default account. And this would be, since I have 4 accounts there, what email address do I want to send out a brand new email from? So if you have a Yahoo or a Comcast and you add a Gmail, that one's probably your default right now. So we just go in here and hit default account, and you select which one you want to send out as your default for new email. We're going to talk about replying in a second. Okay? So you want that to be on the one that you want to send out. We'll talk about signatures in a minute also. Let me go see how we're... Oh, my Google account is set up, it looks like. Yeah.
How did it recognize an account you didn't have?
I'm sorry?
You said now your email account was there, but you went in the mail and put in that KS whatever it was before the other one even existed.
No, this is an existing account. Okay, good point. So we should go show you how to create a Gmail account first.
Okay, that was the point. So you did. Okay.
So this assumes that you already had one, and great point. So let's go to Safari and go to gmail.com. And you'll notice it says create an account. You can sign into an existing account here. This would be how you do your mail direct in Safari. But if I say create an account, I just fill out this information, and they don't really ask you for much. The name you want to put on here, because that's the name that's going to show up on the email you send. But let's do this. Let's just show you how you can find out what email address you can get. I was an early comer to Gmail, so I got some pretty short names. But let's see if I try to get, let's see, let's try MacNexus. I'm going to fill it in and hit tab, and it says somebody already has it. I don't have to go through the whole sign-in process. So I could say, let's put in MacNexus 1984, the year the Mac came out, and that's available. So then you could fill out your passwords, and you'll notice here it tells you about password strength, etc. So once you fill it out here and you establish an account or a Gmail address, now, periods mean nothing in most email providers. I'm Ken Spencer at gmail.com. There's somebody out there that thinks they have Ken.Spencer, and it comes to me. A dot is almost always unrecognized in email. So don't use dots. They don't mean anything. You can use them, but it's the same as not having a dot. So in other words, if you're Curtis and your last name, you put a dot in there, or if the regular one doesn't work and you put a dot in there, it might say it's available, but don't do it. It probably is going to say it's not available because it's the same as not having the dot there. I know that's a protocol that people have from business. So you may have to add for me, I did one that's Ken 95815, an old zip code where I used to live. I was the only Ken in 95815 at the time I signed up, made it easy. So you may have to do some derivations of it. Your first name, middle initial, last name might work. Depends on how unique your name is. Go ahead.
I need to go back to the default account. I have a Gmail account, which I use for my personal mail, friends, and so forth, but my SBC Global has crap.
Right. So is yours set up? Which default is yours on right now?
AT&T.
So tap it. Tap default account.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but then what happens? I mean, I don't-
This only applies to a brand new email. I'm going to talk to you about replying in a minute.
So if I untap AT&T and go to Gmail,
That's going to be on a new message only. Does that make sense?
not really, but that's all right. Okay.
No, so it's only on a new message. So this says, when I create a new message, I want it to go from my Gmail. Because that's what you want to do. You want people to start using your Gmail.
Right, okay, got it.
Can you ever change username?
Depends on where it is. Like Apple, where you're using, let's say,
Like you just put in a username, and can you ever change that?
hang on one sec here. No, that would be a new email. And you never, people say, well, how do I turn it off? You don't. You just stop checking it. Okay? Once you have it, you have it. Now, sometimes, like there's some Yahoos, they'll expire an email address after a while, and they'll usually give you some warnings. It's usually if you haven't used it for a while. So I just signed into my Gmail account, and it says, oh, how to reach you in case. These are very important that these are correct. This should be a mobile phone if you have it. If you don't have a mobile phone that gets text, you can put in your home phone or your regular phone that does it. They'll actually call you. This is in case someone tries to get in and get your account, and you want to have a recovery email. If you're leaving, like my clients that just left AT&T for good, their AT&T won't work anymore. So you have to get another email for that.
How did you get to that?
I just signed into my K-Links account here on gmail.com. So now you'll look here. Here is new sign in from Mac. Occasionally Google will try block us from using Mac Mail. So I went into the website gmail.com, and it tells me that I had a sign in, and look at this information. This is really, really good and really useful. Gmail is looking out for you because people are there's hackers out there trying to get in, get email accounts. Yahoo is the most hijacked accounts there are. Somehow people find easy access into Yahoo. Whether it's easy passwords or what, it's the one that gets hacked in the most. Okay, so we're going to go back to Apple Mail. I don't know why that account didn't set up. Try it one more time quickly. And if not, I'll do it at the break.
You already have it. Why are you trying to?
I'm setting up, I have the account, now I'm trying to get mail. So remember, the mail client just goes and checks your mail. You have to have the account already set up. And that's why I backtracked after what Curtis said, was to go back in there and set it up. Done. Wow. Apple Mail sometimes can be a little broken.
And what is the meaning of mail client? Is that?
So a client Safari goes out and looks on the internet, right? There's also Google Chrome, the Internet Explorer, and all Firefox. Those are applications that go and view the internet. A mail client goes and gets your mail. Let's go back to, here's your mail. If you have a Gmail account, if you have a Gmail account, and someone sends me an email to my Gmail account, think of this as the post office. Somebody sends me an email. I have my iPhone. That's my iPad. There's my iPhone. Here's my laptop. You send me an email, it goes to the main mail post office near your house. Each of my devices goes up and says, give me a copy of any email you have. And that's what a mail client does. If I use Safari, it's the same as going into the post office and taking a look directly at my mail that's in my box. If you use a mail client, it brings the mail down to your device. Does that make sense? This is an important thing. Does everybody get how that works? So, if I'm using Safari, the World Wide Web, and looking at my mail here, and I go and delete an email, before these have a chance to go check it, they'll never get it. Okay? But the best part about this is, when I use Gmail or Apple Mail or one of the ones that use what's called iMac, if I read it here on my iPad when I'm traveling around and I say delete it, it deletes it everywhere. Therefore, when you delete it, it really deletes it. Okay? So that's how a mail client works. It goes out and gets your mail for you.
So if you, do you have different mailbox, storage folders for your mail, like Word or?
Yes.
Okay, so I have that on my.
But I'm not the good example because I don't do that too much because I have 102,000 messages and they're not in very many folders.
Well, if they're all synced, and if you, I know I've told myself this erroneously, but I've set up files on my Mac now that, to save things that I know I need to go back and look again to make it look less messy in my long list.
No. This is a very, and this is Mail Manager, which I was going to get into a minute. So let me finish what I'm doing because I need to fix this whole reply thing and how we send mail out. So unfortunately, I'm not good because for some reason that Gmail account isn't getting set up on my Mac. If I go create a new message, it's not giving me a choice what to send from because I only have one account in here. Let me try another one. It's really weird. Actually, what I'll do is I'll do this one during the break. I'll do that one. But if I go into my iPad, I have my iCloud set up as my default, right? So when I go back to the mail client here, M-A-I-L, and I go and do a new message, you see here that it's going from KenSpencer@Mac.com, which is what my iCloud account is. So I can send this to Al, let's say. Al Tribbett. Now, subject test. Oops. No, I'm not sending it to another person. Test. All right, now, you'll notice that it says my default is from my cloud, but let's say I want to send it from a Gmail account. I tap on that, and then I have to tap on it again, and now you can see I get some other accounts that are available.
You're tapping on the CC?
Let's go back. First I tap on the, and it's crazy why Apple does this, but I tap on the CC, and then it opens it up. Now I tap on the from, and I can choose if I wanted to send it from that Gmail address. Okay? That's how you do it on an iOS device. On your Mac, again, brand new Mac, I can pull my old one out that has 6 email addresses on it. You would select a different one here. So this is important when you go about talking and how to notify everybody of your email address, because let's watch what happens here. So this card from Jackie Lawson that Gail sent me, actually we'll just use my Google sign-in from Mac. And if I tap on my to email address, actually if I hit reply, the action arrow, I hit reply, it shows me which email address that was sent to. So when you reply, there is no way you can make it go from a specific email address. Your default will be a new email, but when you hit reply, it will only go to whichever email address it was sent to. So in this case, I would have to tap it, and then tap here, and then say, oh, I want to send it from that one. So there's a little bit of legwork involved. If you've set Gmail as your new default, when people send you an email, you hit reply, you don't want to reply from your old SBC. You want them to start using your Gmail. So you have to manually change that one. But what you can do is you create a brand new message explaining to people, hey, I'm changing my email address. Please go ahead and update your settings. Now, if you have a really large address book, please send only about 35 in any one group. okay? Because if you send 50 or more, they think you're a spammer and it may not go out through the email provider. So you have to break them down into that. And I'm going to show you what you do in that case. Does anybody know what you do if you're sending something to 35 people? You use BCC. So when I go BCC, I don't put something in the top part. I go down to BCC, which means blind carbon copy. We've all gotten those emails. It's usually from people that have AOL or Hotmail addresses. And it's very bad net etiquette to send one of these emails out with 35 different email addresses on it, because that's a wonderful way for spammers to try harvest all these email addresses. So if you put it in BCC and you have 35 people in BCC, everybody only sees their own email address, and it looks like you've personalized it for them. There is some times when you don't want to use BCC. I'll give you an example. We just had the holidays. Let's say there was a potluck dinner, and somebody sends out an email to 12 people. Hey, please reply and tell me what dish you're bringing. So rather than just reply to the host, you would want to reply to everyone, because you want to be the first one that gets to bring salad, right? Because it's the easiest thing to bring. So, and we don't want all 12 people to bring salads. So you would reply to everyone that you've locked up salad. Then somebody else would reply dessert, so that the entire group gets it. That's the one time you wouldn't want to BCC. You would copy everyone, okay? If you're on some sort of sports team, or you're in some sort of group and there's a thing that people have to respond to, that's when you would not BCC. But if you're just sending out a blanket email, use BCC. Go ahead.
But if you click reply to all, even it'll go to everybody, even if you are using BCC, won't it?
No. So good question. So generally speaking, if you hit reply all, everybody, let's say our potluck dinner, if there were 12 people and you hit reply all, it goes to all 12. Okay? If I sent the same email to 12 people as BCC and you hit reply all, the only person it would reply to is the person that sent it, because you never even see those other emails. BCC is blind courtesy or carbon copy. So that means it's not even part of the header. You can't find out who else it was sent to. This is the way businesses send it. I see this all the time. Some businesses send out these things. Hey, we're going to be closed for the holidays. You see all the people they do business with. Well, that's really good information if you're a vendor or a prospective vendor from a company.
Where's reply all?
Okay, reply all is the same as reply, but you will only get reply all as an option if there's more than one person in the original email. Otherwise, replying to all is just the same as reply. So I'll show you that on an email here. We'll go to the Mac. So here's one. This one was sent. This is the Lincoln Hills Mac user group. So you'll see there's quite a few emails up there. When I hover over here on reply all, it replies to everyone. The main person that sent it, and it CCs these people. If I just hit reply, it only goes to the original sender. Okay? And then, of course, on your Apple Mail, when you do a new message, BCC is not available there. You have to go up here and say BCC. And once you've added BCC, it will always be there. Once you've done it once, it'll always be there. Now, after the break, I'm going to show you some other cool things when you compose an email message. So, and I will stop the recording. Well, this is a new thing in El Capitan I wanted to show you because it's wonderful. So I'm going to search for this email I got from Andy Petro. And there it is. All right. So he's discussing us having a meeting. And look at the very top there. There's a little icon of a calendar. And sometimes up in the header, it'll say, oh, this is an email address for this person you don't already have. Do you want to update contacts? But if I want to do this, I can say, oh, one event. Okay, I can either edit it, I can add it to my calendar, or I can dismiss that. So if I add it to my calendar, it shows me where it is. Andy Petro. So we're finally getting that interactivity between our devices that we like. I'm gonna cancel this and not do it because I want to show on your iPad how it does it too. But I want to show you an email that I sent to myself. And it was email info. So I sent this email to myself. It's about the party of the century. Should be party of the year since it's brand new. But watch what happens when I move my cursor up above this. I hover over it, and it gets what's called a data detector. And when I hit that data detector, it opens it up in the calendar, and I can make my event right from there. Okay? So I'm going to say party on. And I'm gonna, and look at that, it even has the location it derived from the email I used where we have our MacNexus meetings. So I'm gonna add that to my calendar. But you'll notice this is also, here's a phone number and here's a street address. I click on this and I can add this right, I can create a new contact for my address book, my contacts, or add it to an existing contact. And look at this, it'll even open it up in Maps and show me exactly where it is. So, going forward, there's no excuse to start using calendar and to start using contacts. Go ahead with your question.
Well, you were very careful to make sure you put complete information, date, and all that. What happens when somebody sends you something that has kind of scanned?
Find new friends. So if, as long as the data detector shows up,
It's an F.
and then you go in there, and now I can edit that information right there, or you create the event and do it, or you create the contact and edit what you want. It's pretty good. It's getting better all the time about going in and trying to coalesce that information for you, but it will get better. The other thing is on the phone, again, that's data, so it's the same thing. But you might like this one. I can call using my iPhone. If you have your iPhone linked to here, it will call this right through my iPhone. No more dialing. We're going to be able to forget more numbers again because we never have to do the numbers. But here's the one we like. From across the room, I can see it. Okay?
Ken, that's gonna link across all your devices in your calendar.
Correct. If your cloud is set up,
Right.
it's great. So let's go back to the calendar event really quick that we created for Party of the Century on January 3rd. So if we look here, didn't I create it?
Yeah, Sunday, the 3rd of January.
That's February.
Thank you. Here it is, Party on. So watch what happens when I click this. Oh, I'm gonna quit Apple Mail. So remember, I made this event from Apple Mail, and watch this. Does anybody remember what the password to get into the party was?
Open
And-
Sesame.
Right, but also here's the address it derived from it. There's a map, and when I click Show in Mail, it opens that email that we made this from.
Oh, wow.
And there is Open Sesame. It's round tripping it. Okay, that's been available for a while. Only that little Andy Petro thing at the top is new in El Capitan. This works in everything. Now let's go to the iPad. Come on. Make sure I'm on the right network. Yeah. Huh. MacBook. Come on. Oh, there it is. Well, at least we got the iPhone. I don't know why I don't have the iPad. I have this little app called Reflector that's wonderful. All right, we'll show you on the iPhone. So if I go to my mail on the iPhone, so if I go down here, So there's the Andy Petro one. You'll notice the date has like a hyperlink, a blue underline on it. I would click on that and do the same thing. But let's go to the email that I sent myself late last night, or early this morning. Oops, there it is. So you'll notice these look like hyperlinks. Oops, I accidentally clicked on the board. So on each of these, I can press and hold. Actually, I'm sorry, I have the, so on the, if you have a 6S and I press and hold hard, it lets me view it on the map. And when I release my finger, it goes away. But if I just press on it, it says, get directions, open in maps, add to contacts. So if I tap add to contacts, it says, do I want to create a new contact or add to an existing contact? So this works on all of your iOS devices just like it does on your Mac. This is a great way to add correct and current data to all of your Apple devices. And they should all sync together. Okay? Any questions on what we did there? All right, go ahead.
When you add to an existing contact, is the computer or is the device searching out for the name, the connection?
No, okay, so let's do it. Let's say add to existing, just so you can do it. It's the same on the Mac. You get into search your entire book, okay? Which is the way you want it because this will tell you if you already have that person in there too. Now, if you use their email address, and I'll show you that in a second, if we click on their email address, it'll add it automatically. But you want to go find it because you don't want it wrong and you don't want it doubled.
So when you're searching there, you're going into the search box and...
It fires it up automatically. And again, this is only if you're saying add to existing. If you say create new, it's going to grab that information.
Right, but adding to existing, when you say you're going to search, you're going to do that through the search. You're going to enter it in the search bar.
Correct, but I didn't do anything to initiate that other than hit add to existing. It brought up my search bar.
Right.
Because that way you'll see. And then many times you go, oh, I don't have that person. So you back out, you hit cancel and say create new. Okay, it's the safest way to do it to eliminate the possibility of getting duplicates, or also you could have a last name where you've got a husband and wife or something where you don't know which one is which. But it's the default. Okay? Good question on that. So I'm going to hit cancel. And now we're going to go into calendars. Who here is not using their Apple devices for their calendar? Okay, and I suspect you're using this. Is there a reason you're not using your Apple device for a calendar? I'm just curious.
I can put more on the paper notes and things I have to remember to take.
You think you can. So if I take, let's take this information, I can put it on my clipboard, and I go into calendar. This is party of the century. And I go into here, and I say add notes. I can add quite a bit to my notes in that calendar account. Huh?
I would never write that. I have codes.
Codes? You can use codes. So let's say you put codes in. Let's say we made it. So this is good, and I'm not trying to convince you to do it, but I'm going to show you that there aren't really limitations. Let's say we put Xmas is in notes, and I put that in, 4 different events. I can always go up here, and you're having to go through every page and look for Xmas. If I put Xmas up in here, it shows me any event that would have that in the notes. You have full search capability in all your events. Or if you had, let's say you play bridge in 4 different places. You could put the name of what, and just show me the bridge ones from that event. So I'm not disagreeing. I'm trying to show you to make it easy to add things to your calendar so that you guys might start using calendar. Because the beauty of it is all of us have our iOS device with us, or most of us, at all times. Therefore, it's here, and it's here, and it's here, and it's at iCloud.com if you just happen to not have anything with you and use some other computer. Okay, go ahead.
And
I'll get you next.
that calendar goes to all your devices through the cloud.
Correct.
So if one of your devices gets killed, gets damaged, you can still retrieve it elsewhere.
Yes.
Okay, because I use both. I use paper because a friend of mine, but this was 12, 13 years ago, spilled coffee on it and he lost his whole calendar.
On his device?
Yeah.
And if you spilled coffee on your other calendar, it'd probably screw it up too. So remember though, the important thing is, let's think of it, we all are used to syncing our contacts. If you delete a contact on at one place, it deletes it everywhere. But if that phone itself goes away and dies or gets stolen, it doesn't delete it. It's only when you physically go in and delete a contact, or you change a phone number to the new number, it goes everywhere, okay? So that's the beauty, because we have this all with us, and I'm going to show you in a second why it's so much easier. But go ahead.
Yeah, how long does it keep calendar events? I mean, like say I want to talk about something that I did 3 years ago.
It'll keep it as long as you tell it to keep it.
As long as you tell it to keep it.
Yeah, so your iOS device usually only syncs back. You can set it 30, 60, or 90 days, but your Mac usually goes back to when you first initiated it if you want, which is good when you think about tax purposes and business trips and things like that.
Where do you set that?
On the Mac, you don't set it. It's automatic. Well, let me check. Didn't used to be. So you can say, nope, there's no limit. Because you got to remember, this data is teeny. This is just teeny. The other thing, when you're on the Mac too, you can see over here, I show all my calendars. So I expose my calendars and not expose them, but you get a little mini calendar that you can run right here beside it. Okay, you can't do that in your iOS, unfortunately. Okay, any other, go ahead.
I ended up with doubled contacts and calendar items, and I track them back to, I guess each one comes in from different Gmail accounts.
So don't use Gmail.
Well, yeah, but now,
You can turn calendars on and off is the way to do that.
in that, yeah.
Yeah, so let's show you on both devices, because this happens. So rather than unsyncing them, because you might lose them, first of all, you'll notice on mine, I have on my Mac. You do not want to create any events on my Mac, because that means it's just on my Mac. That's like having a paper calendar. When it's at home, it's at home. Okay? So you want to create a default calendar that is, and see here, this was a new machine I hadn't set up. I just set up my default as my iCloud work calendar. So anytime I create a new event, that's what it goes into. Now, I can turn these other calendars on and off. See, party on. Unfortunately, I made party on because it was set as on my Mac. So let's go change that. See how when I toggle it on and off, January 3rd goes off and on? So I'm going to go to party on, and I'm going to change this calendar to be my iCloud work, or sorry, that event to be iCloud work. Now it's iCloud work, so I can turn off home, I can turn off that, and I like to hide those. That shouldn't even have been there. I don't know where that came from. Again, on my new Mac, I've deleted them on my other one. But I have lots of calendars here, and I get double holidays, like see, Christmas Day, and see, I only get to celebrate Christmas once. I don't get two, okay? So I'll go over here, and I can say U.S. holidays. Well, that's the pink one, but let's look at the gray one. See, that gets rid of it. I can turn a calendar on and off over here. So that's how you could eliminate those deleted ones, but this is also a way to check if you've put things in a wrong calendar. Let's go to the iOS device, I still don't know why. There we go. iPad's coming up. It's a little bit bigger on the iPad. That's, oh, come on. So if I go to my iPad and my iPhone, you'll notice in the bottom center is calendars. If I tap calendars, the check mark shows all my calendars that are on. So if I wanted to see, I have a couple that are off. You could select the ones and turn them off. Same thing on your iPhone. Just select the calendars you want to see by having a check mark. And that will, your duplicates will still be there, but they're swept under the rug and you don't see them. Okay?
And that's the same for contacts.
Yeah, contacts is different because it's groups, but yes, because you actually it'll be accounts in your contacts because you've got multiple Gmails. The way to clean that up is to just get it, just have them go away. I mean, you're going to want to, if they're the exact same ones, it's happened through syncing. That's why I encourage to just use iCloud for your data sets.
Well, and you were going to get to that later, right?
Yeah. So if we go into the Mac in contacts, the two of you that don't have Macs, the three of you that don't have Macs, I want to show you over here. Here are your contacts, preferences, in contacts, accounts. I have a lot of different accounts. Any that say card dev these are accounts. But see, I've got them disabled on my Gmail. But if I go, and then I want to have a default account, which would be my iCloud, my top iCloud. Now, when I go over here, who has duplicates? Anybody have duplicates? You won't after today. So this is on the Mac and on the Mac only. I think it works on iCloud.com. But anyway, I'm going to first export contacts archive. The first thing I want to do. Now, who here is not using Time Machine? It backs up everything. Curtis is like, I'm on the board. I should admit I don't do Time Machine. Well, hey, it's your data, whatever. But Time Machine, just go to Costco. You get a hard drive. You plug it in. The hardest thing is going to be getting it out of the box. Plug it in. It'll pop up. It'll say, I see you plugged in a hard drive. Do you want to use Time Machine with that? And you say yes. And it says, well, I'm going to erase that brand new empty drive. Is that okay? Say yes. And then it backs up every hour for the rest of the time. Trust me, you need to have at least one backup. But what I want to do here is I want to archive my entire address book by going to Export Contacts Archive. And then I usually store it in the Documents folder. And I call it, I make a folder called, inside that, Contacts Backup. Because I'm going to go purge my files, and this way I have, so if I totally screw up, I can always come back to where I am. So, boom, I'm going to save it. Now, if I go up to the word card and come down to look for duplicates, only 2 were found because I do mine periodically. So I'm going to hit and say, and it's their duplicate, so it says I might have 2 of John Doe's and they have different information. Let's merge those cards. So now they're merged. Now I'm going to go, what I do is I do this until it says there's none left, or it keeps saying 3, 3, 3, 3. At some point, it's either going to get stable. 1 card.
But that's only in our Macs.
Correct, or on I think on iCloud.com. But you do it here, and then it comes over to your iOS device. Those of you without Macs, I have another way.
Well, here's something weird. I've done that on my all contacts list. I have
but they're not truly duplicates. They have different data in them then. So let me show you how to fix that.
Okay.
So if I take a card, I'm going to pretend that Henry Sandiego and Jack Sanders are the same person. So I'm going to command click on both of those cards, okay? Then I can go up to card and say merge and link selected cards. So I'm manually merging those two cards. And this will help you because when it says link, you may have the same person in two different Gmail accounts, and it's saying link those together, but only show me the one card. So that's what link versus merge is. Okay? So let's try one thing really quick for those of you that don't have a Mac. I'm going to see if it works here. So all of our information is on iCloud.com. You cannot go to this on your iOS device. You have to go on to it on a PC or a Mac, okay, with a modern browser. So you guys would find, do you have PCs or just iPad? So at a PC, you go to iCloud.com. You sign in with your Apple username and ID, and, whoa.
Didn't recognize your password.
Okay. So if we go here to our contacts, this is, remember how in Mail we looked at the server, the mailbox? I have now gone to iCloud. This is now iCloud. I'm going right into iCloud and looking right at my information. And it takes a second to do it. I'm not positive I can do duplicates here or not. But rather than manage your stuff on the iPad, it's a lot of times easier to manage it on a computer. And you know the next time if you won't replace that PC, you'll get a Mac, right? Because you can't get viruses. Nope, I can't look for duplicates here, unfortunately. But this is looking directly at my, so you'll notice all my groups are here and things. So on your iOS devices, if you make groups, they show up on your iOS devices, but you can't make groups on your iOS devices. So if you're in the case where you don't have a Mac to work on, you can go into iCloud.com and you can create groups here, and they will show up on your devices. Okay? So, but this makes a lot of times a little easier to work with a keyboard, but yeah, I don't see where you can do it. Sorry about that. And obviously our calendar's here. And party of the century. Yep, there it is. Oh, there's our Xmas tag on it, right? I don't know why that keeps doing that. Oh, lovely. All right. So contacts also, this would have been good if you needed to do your Christmas lists and stuff, but I'm in contacts. I'm not in iCloud now. I'm in contacts. And you have the ability to print real well here. Oh, and so by the way, once I did all that purging of my contacts, I'm going to show you here. I'm going to hit cancel. I would go back and I would contacts archive, but it's the same date. So what I would do is I would append this and say post purge, because it's going to overwrite the first one you saved because it's the same title. So now I have my contacts backed up both ways. And what happens is, let's say a week from now I realize I really screwed up. I can go back to the one that I did that I archived and double click on it. But what it's going to say is, do you want to restore all your contacts from what you had there? Therefore, if you've done some new ones, it won't show up. But it gives you a good backup, even though Time Machine hasn't backed up for you. And your calendar, because we're going to probably be purging our calendars from a lot of stuff. If we go to calendar, you have the same capability, export, calendar archive. Okay? Now, because the stuff's on the cloud, you could delete stuff and it's going to delete it everywhere, and that could be a problem. So back it up here locally. Question back here?
You mentioned Christmas lists.
That'll be, we'll do a mail class for Christmas on there. So you can make a group called Xmas, but I'm going to show you on contacts how well you can print from contacts. So if I take here, like here was a deal list. Oh, that's not going to have email addresses. Let's go to, I'll just go to all contacts and I'll select, I hold the shift key and I can select contiguous. I can go to print. And, this one's not set up with a printer yet. Somebody has a, gosh. So I can, man. I can print mailing labels. It's tucking over there. So when I select mailing labels, I can select Avery and which style Avery it is, and it'll do it. I can select envelopes, and I don't know why the screen, because I have the screen zoomed in, it creates an issue. So I'm gonna, anyway, it'll put your return address on there and the other people, and you can even make little like holiday wreaths and put them on there. So the printing, and it really does a good job of knowing what your printer is and put it in. The one thing is you got to think about whether it's flap up or flap down or flap that way. But it prints envelopes. I do, just normal. I still mail stuff very rarely. It does it fine. See if I can get out of this. It has. There's something wrong here because it's not showing my. There I go. All right. Go ahead.
If we put something that's junk mail, what happens to it? If we put it in trash, how are we cleaning out if we mark it?
On your Mac, if you mark it as junk mail, it goes into a junk folder, and you can use that as a tool. So first off, if we go to mail, so this Fry's promo code, if I wanted to tell it was junk, I would give it a thumbs down. And then the next time something comes from Fry's, it's going to go into my junk folder.
But do you track that particular?
No, wait. So if I put it in my junk folder, it will go into the junk folder. If it's spam, don't delete it. Teach it that it's junk. Because if you teach it it's junk, it will bypass your inbox and go to the junk folder the next time it comes in. If you just delete it, you've never taught it that it means it's junk. Oh, I just want to delete it. So once it goes to the junk folder, you can delete it if you want, or you can set your preferences in mailbox behaviors, and you can say you can say delete them after 1 month. And then you don't even have to go in and worry about them. They're going to go in there. Now, junk is something that you don't want to see in your inbox. But, like Fry's ads, they're usually only good for a week. So I could say, but some are only for a day. But let's say I wanted to say, okay, a Fry's ad comes in. I don't need to see it on my inbox, but I know if I'm going to go to Fry's, like there's a surprise. I'll give you a good example. Let's say Land's End. Let's say you're on the Land's End email list. You've signed up for it, so it's not spam. You want to get the special sales, but you may not want to always see them in your inbox. So if you tell it it's junk, you're going to still continue to get it. It's going to go to your junk box. So if you decide you want something from Land's End, you go into your junk box, and if you said, only show me anything 30 days or newer, you're going to just see the current Land's End, and then you can go do the sale. So your junk box is great for filtering your spam, but it's also very good as a tool. I used to get the JCPenney one because when I would go to the Arden Fair Apple Store, I would go and look before I went to the Arden Fair Apple Store. I'd go see if there was anything on sale at JCPenney because I walked through JCPenney to go to the old store. So I use that as a tool. But remember, if you delete it, it'll never learn that it's junk. Tell it it's junk, then you can delete it if you want, or just let the junk box expire after 30 days and set it to do that.
What if I accidentally mark something as junk and it wasn't junk?
Then you go back and click on it and say not junk, and it will unlearn it. And the important thing is, and this new Mac doesn't have the junk, oh, it does have a junk folder set up. So this is nice because it's respecting that. You notice they didn't turn brown. So let's say Keith Springer, that one. So I'm going to tell it it's junk. So see it here, it's brown. I'll tell it it's not junk, and then it would unlearn it. You do need to check your junk folder every so often because you might get false positives from somebody that you want to get mail from. So you have to check your junk folder and then see. We do finally on iOS devices have junk folders, but they don't sync back and forth. So we're going to go to folder management in a second. Go ahead.
Would you show again how you get to the section where you set the time to delete the junk?
Oh, so in Mail Preferences, and it's called Mailbox Behaviors, and then you say store junk messages on server, you don't need that, and you say delete after 1 month old. So what it means 1 month old, let's say you take a 2-month trip and you haven't checked your mail. Yeah, I know where that's going to happen. But you come back and you check your mail, it's only going to delete it after it's received it and it's over 30 days old. But if it's the junk, you probably don't care. Go ahead.
I do the thumbs up and thumbs down. Like I have a meetup, and maybe in January I want to get all the meetups, so I do thumbs up. And then I don't want to do anything in February, so I do the thumbs down. But it keeps, it's like, does it take a long time to relearn?
No, but you shouldn't do it on and off.
No.
What you should do is tell it to go to the junk folder, and then the months you're going to look for that meetup, just go look in your junk folder for it. Or keep it in your inbox and do it. And remember, you have such great search capability is we've got right up here, you can search for that and it'll give you in chronological order, and it can search all your boxes or your junk box or whatever. And then I always go, this is another setting if you're going to use junk mail, make sure you go into preferences and in general, definitely turn on when searching mailboxes, search junk, because you're expecting a mail. I've sent myself email to a different account and have it show up as junk because it just thinks it's junk. I don't know why. So you have to teach it it's not junk. This way, if you're expecting an email for somebody you want it and use the search, you want to make sure it checks the junk folder.
So does that confuse it?
Well, it does and it doesn't, but it can, yeah. I mean, it might miss the it's okay to not go junk and stuff, but it's either going to just think of junk as another folder. Okay, so now we're going to talk about email management a little bit. So contacts, we did the duplicate cards. Calendar, we pretty much did. You can see all of that stuff. All of this is happening with cloud syncing, and the most important part is that you use iCloud for your cloud stuff. Actually, before I go into these, I want to do a follow-up on calendar. But go ahead.
Did you say that groups work on our iOS devices? Because
Yes.
mine don't.
Well,
I use them on my computer, but I've never been able to use them on my device.
you can't create them on your device, but they show
Well, I
up.
don't mean create them, I mean use them.
Yeah. Well, when you say use, what do you mean? By filling out an email? No, you can't fill out an email with a group name.
I mean looking up, for instance.
Here, look at my iPad here, and if I go to contacts and I go to groups, there's all my groups. As long as they're not groups made on your Mac, they're groups made on iCloud.
But when you click on the group, nothing happens. And on iCloud.
They have to be on iCloud. So let's say I go here to MacNexus. What it does is when you click on it, it says just show me people in that group.
So that's what I wanted to do.
Well, look at my thing here. See on my iPad, that's all the people that are in the MacNexus group. So I always say show all contacts. Otherwise, you can say show specifically. I'll look at it later for you, Leslie.
Okay.
All right. So now, those of you still using paper calendars, let's pull up. I'm going to use January 3rd. Why is that doing it? It's like it timed out or something. Okay, so here's my iPhone. Scheduled dentist, January 3rd at 10 a.m. Scheduled dentist, January 3rd at 10 a.m.
Okay, I set up your event for tomorrow. Shall I schedule it?
Edit title.
Okay, what's the new name for this meeting?
Dentist.
Okay, I'll make that change to your event. Shall I schedule it?
Change time to 9 p.m.
Okay, I can create your meeting. Note that you already have an event about party on at 9 p.m. Shall I schedule it anyway?
No, cancel.
Okay then, I will create the event.
So, my hands never left my wrists. I'm using Siri on my iPhone, but let's actually schedule the dentist appointment. Schedule dentist tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Okay, I set up your event for tomorrow. Shall I schedule it?
Yes.
It's on your calendar for 10 a.m. tomorrow.
So now we're looking at my Mac. We're still looking at my Mac. It doesn't want me to go to the dentist. There it is, dentist. Okay. Cancel my dentist appointment tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Shall I remove it from your calendar?
Yes.
Okay, it's off your calendar.
So, no misspellings because I didn't type. It told me I had an event when I tried to overlap things. It doesn't get much easier than that. You had a question?
Can you, at the point that you schedule a dentist appointment, can you ask it to remind you an hour ahead?
In a second? Well, so yes, because when I go into, so there's two different things. And I'm going to talk about reminders in just a second because reminders is huge. But you can set alerts rather than call it reminders. When we schedule something with Siri, we're scheduling an appointment or they call it an event. Don't say schedule an appointment because she'll call it appointment. She's scheduling an event. That event is on your calendar, which is an appointment. And on an appointment, I can go down here and I can say, what's interesting is you'll notice it says alert when I leave. Now this is something new in the Mac because we gave it a location, correct? So, I get a little pop-up on my device that says, oh, traffic is a little heavy right now. You need to leave by this time to make it to your event at a certain amount of time. Or a reminder pops up when I just look at my calendar in the morning. It'll say, you need to leave by 9:45 to make it to this appointment. Because I gave it a location. And it syncs with my car. It does the same thing in my car. And if you give it the other nice thing is if you put a location in when you create the event, when I go to the calendar and tap that event, I can tap the location and it automatically fires it up in Maps for you. And if you use Waze, which we know is the best navigation device at all, you can allow Waze to get in and it'll pop up when you fire up Waze and say, oh, your next thing on your calendar is here. Do you want me to navigate you to there? So it's really by tying it in. Remember, we made that party on just from an email. We didn't, and you've not seen me go in, and I'm not telling you how to enter anything in a calendar, because why? You've got Siri or the email to do it. So the other thing, you can set these alerts. I can set multiple alerts. I can add another alert, and it can be, give me an alert 1 hour before, 1 day before. And that little alert can be a sound, it can be an email, it can be a text, or it can be just a little pop-up notification. That's an alert. We're not going to call it a reminder, because we're going to do reminders next. There was another question. Go ahead.
You were going through asking somebody else about why they're still using a paper calendar, as I am too. And I love all the benefits, but here's the one I don't know how to get around, is when I'm scheduling something, like say a doctor's appointment, and I'm at that office, if I remember, I bring a paper calendar, because sometimes I like to see what the whole week looks like before I
You mean the
add
whole
too
week?
many things. But if I'm just carrying my,
You can print this out.
okay, so that
You
would
can
be-
see your whole week on that.
But it doesn't show, really, because it'll just show the calendar and then little.
Here, watch this.
You scroll up.
So if we go to the iPhone, and I get rid of the hamburger menu, there's week.
Okay, but you can't see your month and go, oh, this week is horrendous, I think I'll schedule it.
I can,
Show me how that's gonna show, and then you just.
a
click
dot
it.
is where you have it.
You have some.
And then, let's say let's start with January 4th. There it is. And then if I hit the hamburger menu, oops,
What do you call it?
those little lines, now I get a list. And this is the best way to see it on your phone if you really need to. And then I can go to today. I can zip down, get wherever I want, then hit today. This is how it gets more granular, but if I go back, if I turn off that menu, I've got just the day by day. This is essentially the week. And actually, if I go sideways, I can see it a little bit better.
Is that why you carry around your iPad mini?
My calendar, I love using my mini for the calendar, but when I'm on my phone, I always have this in list mode. To me, this is how I see everything. But again, and then my current day syncs in the car, and it shows up on my car too, which a lot of, with Apple, if you get CarPlay, that'll be doing it in some of the new cars that have it. But I just use the list mode exclusively, and I can search, but I can say, when is my next appointment?
Your next appointment is at 3 p.m. today.
Do I have anything scheduled for January 4th?
Yes, you have 3 appointments for Monday.
How do you see a week at a glance?
I'm sorry?
How do you see a week at a glance, like horizontal,
On the iPhone? On what device? They're all different.
on the map?
On the Mac, if I go here, I can select month, I can select year, I can select week. And then when I go over here, this is week by week. And then you click on today. If I go to the month and I get to a month, let's say, and now I hit week, let's say I click on this date, now I hit week, it's the week surrounding where I am.
It won't matter how many, like if you put from 5 in the morning till 10 at night.
Oh, you can adjust that, but I just scroll up and down. That's from midnight to midnight. Because you want to leave it room because you don't want these to be so abbreviated you can't see what it says. Okay? So,
I think you're so facile at it that you can add things quickly at home. I'll go, oh, the day when I leave for that appointment, bring that package for Kate. So I write a little.
oh, no. Let's fix that right now with reminders. Okay, so our iOS devices. So first of all, this is more powerful than every other computer we own. It doesn't have the computing power. It can do a lot of things, and the new chips are fantastic. But this has an accelerometer in it. It can tell when you're moving. It has a great clock in it. It has a GPS in it. So that GPS means that it creates a geofence around us. So when we talk about reminders, reminders are that little yellow legal pad, the little small one. This is the iPad mini size of a yellow pad. Little sticky notes are the iPhone size, and there's the MacBook Pro size yellow legal pad. Thank you for letting me use your legal pad. And I write things down, but I don't ever go look at them again. So, reminders is essentially your to-do list. So when we make a to-do list, or many to-do lists, there's a couple criteria. So your situation is, the first thing is, you could say make dentist appointment. And when you've made the dentist appointment, you can scratch that off the to-do list. And there's so much satisfaction in scratching stuff off the to-do list that it's just great. That list could be your Costco shopping list. But you said, I need to write down to remind me to take the x-rays from the dentist to the orthodontist to put those in my car when I leave to do it. If I need to put something in my car, there's a little spot where I set things that I have to trip over to get out to go to my car, okay? So, but I can make a reminder that would be a time. The dentist appointment's at 10 and you have to leave at 9:15. So you would say, at 9:15 on Monday morning, remind me to get the x-rays. So a to-do or reminder can be time-based. But the coolest part of reminders, it can be location-based. So you make that little to-do list that says when I leave the house at 9:15, remind me at 9:15 to put the x-ray in the car. Well, you know, you're taking the kid and they're late, you breakfast, you burnt the eggs, and you get all flustered and you get ready to leave your house. Well, you back your car out of the driveway, and if you made a reminder that says, when I leave here, remind me to get the x-rays. So as you get 300 feet away from your house, a little reminder, or a little notification will pop up on your iOS device that says, remember the x-rays. Because it knows where here is all the time. So, a regular list of reminders, time-based or location-based. Or, we're in this meeting right here. And you have, my skis are over at the shop. I'm not going to pick them up today, but let's say you did. I could say, when I leave here, remind me to pick up the skis. Or you could say, when I get home, remind me to put the trash can out. And as you drive close to your house, because it knows where your house is because you have that in your thing. You can't do, when I get to Home Depot, remind me to pick up nails, unless Home Depot is in your contacts. And this is why you want all these things to gel together. Bless you. So I'm going to make a little reminder here. Oh, gosh. At noon, remind me that I should be finished with the class.
Okay, I'll remind you.
Oh, God, it just turned to noon. Okay, it was too late. At 12:01, remind me that I should be finished with the class.
Okay, I'll remind you.
And that little reminder will pop up on all my devices. And when it pops up, I can say, okay, completed. Like now, because the heart surgery, I take pills morning and night. Well, I usually remember, but I have a reminder set every day at 8 p.m. if I haven't taken my night pills, it pops up. And I just hit completed. And you get that same satisfaction of saying completed. And I told it to remind me every day. So I'm not setting, I've set one reminder that's repeating, okay? So it helps, and you're in a meeting and you say, I gotta pick up the dry cleaning when I leave. There, I just got a reminder on my phone and my iPad, It probably didn't show up here yet because I haven't set notifications in the new one. And look at this, on my iPad, I can say mark as completed or later. Oh, remind me in 15 minutes or 1 hour or tomorrow or ignore. So I'll say 15 minutes. So that's, and the location-based part of it is fantastic. And it just, reminders is huge. Now, I've not shown you how to go in and do reminders manually because it's a pain in the butt. It's a lot easier to let Siri do it for you. And then it shows up here. And everybody, if you have an iPad 2 or newer, I'm sorry, an iPad 3 or newer, an iPad mini, iPad Airs, iPhone 4S or newer, you all have Siri. And Siri is great. So I'll leave you with some profound thoughts from Siri. What does the fox say?
Chow, 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 chow.
What's the current temperature?
It's 45 degrees Fahrenheit right now.
So it's not as burr anymore. Will I need a jacket tonight? Artificial intelligence.
The low will be 36 degrees Fahrenheit.
I didn't ask what the low would be, but it tells me of jacket. I'm drunk.
Neither of us is driving home.
And since it's got a GPS, if I say call me a taxi,
Call AMPN taxi cab CO on 2839.
that's the closest taxi service to where I am, and I'm sure that will be Uber soon. But I'll leave you with some profound. What is 0 divided by 0?
Imagine that you have 0 cookies and you split them evenly among 0 friends. How many cookies does each person get? See, it doesn't make sense. And Cookie Monster is sad that there are no cookies. And you are sad that you have no friends.
What is the meaning of life?
Try and be nice to people, avoid eating fat, read a good book every now and then, get some walking in, and try to live together in peace and harmony with people of all creeds and nations.
What is the meaning of life?
All evidence to date suggests it's chocolate.
Thank you. The cloud, we didn't really go into too much, but the cloud works behind the scenes, and if everything's syncing, it's working fine. Specific problems with the clouds have to be addressed with either Apple, with myself, or with Triage. Thank you.
I have a quick question. Throughout this whole presentation, I'm missing a point that's key to my mind is we talk about syncing, which is great. What do you have to do to get everything to sync? That's the part I'm missing.
Just make sure you're signed into iCloud.
Oh, I am signed into iCloud. I mean, I have an iCloud account and it's on my phone and on my devices.
Everything's probably syncing. If it's not, then we need to address it, but everybody has specific issues with that.
Oh, okay. Because I remember last session I mentioned I had duplicate entries on my calendar, but I could go in and turn off.
Better to have duplicates than have missing ones.
Okay. So if you're signed into iCloud, which shows iCloud as one of my email addresses, is that what that means? I have iCloud, and it shows up on all my devices.
Well, are your appointments syncing across your devices? The thing is, you have to have the default calendar set to the same one, and they should be syncing across your device.
Okay, no, I haven't. No, I didn't do that. Okay, I'll check that out. When you say sign into iCloud, because I do have an iCloud account, and it shows up under my emails. So that means I'm signed into iCloud. See, I do have an iCloud account, so
right.
So I just check every device to make sure I have that.
Mail, contacts.
Yeah, I have it.
And calendars, so they're syncing.
Right.
But you want to make sure that your default for calendar.
Okay, I don't remember setting a default for calendar. I can go home and take a look at that.
Look at all these Yahoo calendars. There it is. It's your iCloud Home. That's good.
Oh.
So on your computer, make sure it's default iCloud Home.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so it's not really something magic you have to do to get all the devices synced other than having iCloud.
Just make sure they're on the same account and the same default